Everyone calls my boss the Grim Reaper. He never smiles, shows zero emotion, and nobody ever leaves his office happy. After getting called out in another meeting, I vented to my online boyfriend. My boss is terrifying. He's always watching me, making me sweat. I've never seen such a scary CEO. My boyfriend went silent. The next day, I was suddenly locked in the CEO's office with the Grim Reaper himself leaning over me, looking like he might cry. Honey, how am I scary? God is fair after all. He gave this man a handsome face, but a heart darker than the evil queen's poisoned apple. During our 8 a.m. meeting, the room was dead silent. When the man in the power seat lost his temper again, throwing the proposal back at his underlings, I couldn't help messaging my online boyfriend. Does he have PMS 30 days a month or something? This demon should donate his body to science when he dies. My boyfriend usually replies instantly, but he must have been busy. His last message before the meeting started was, my baby is beautiful inside and out. Good luck will come to you every day. So sweet. But the goddess of luck wasn't with me today. Director Taylor, being called out in front of everyone. I stood up shakily, meeting that piercing gaze. His hard facial features carried the intimidating aura of someone in power. Your team's proposals have been rejected 2 weeks in a row. Before you explore career diversity, do you have anything to say? What a fancy way to threaten firing us. I took a deep breath. I'm sorry. Our team will reflect seriously and submit a satisfactory proposal next week. I don't know if he was satisfied with my answer, but the nerve-wracking morning meeting ended with my demon boss's cold face. As I was about to escape with my notebook, my boyfriend finally replied, it's the 21st century. How can such tyrants still exist? My poor baby, you're suffering. The screen filled with crying Shiba Inu stickers, as if he was tearing up from sympathy for me. My bad mood instantly vanished. Just as I was about to reply, I noticed from the corner of my eye that my boss was still at his seat. He was looking down at his phone, lips still tight, but his eyes had softened like melting ice, as if he'd become a different person. So even ice face has a gentle side. I fled the meeting room like I'd seen a ghost. Within minutes, my boyfriend sent several more messages. Opening them, I saw my screen filled with $520 transfers. At this moment, someone thousands of miles away is heartbroken that he can't be with his baby. Only my baby's happiness can heal me. Baby, why aren't you saying anything? It's that tyrant making you upset, not me. Baby, please don't ignore me. Well, he even revealed his real name, Henry, in his panic. I couldn't help but laugh. My relationship with Henry started by accident. I'm shallow. I love handsome faces and abs, but in real life, guys with both are usually players. Afraid of becoming just another fish in some player's pond, I decided to make the first move by posting body pics on a dating app. Among all the thirsty DMs, Henry stood out by simply liking my photos without saying anything. When I finally messaged him asking for abs pics, our story began. Although we agreed not to show our faces, only our bodies, our relationship has been incredibly. Henry was, without question, the most attentive boyfriend in existence. If I complained about overtime, dinner would mysteriously arrive at my apartment before I got home. If I sneezed once during a voice call, a box of medicine, tissues, and enough fruit to survive a zombie apocalypse appeared on my doorstep the next morning. If I stayed up late, my phone exploded. Henry, sleep. Henry, it's 12:17. Henry, why are you still online? Me, because my boss gave me enough work to make a robot cry. Henry, 3 dots. Then another. Henry, I don't like your boss. Me, congratulations. You're officially a member of the company. He immediately sent another transfer. $888. Henry, emotional damage compensation. I laughed so hard I almost dropped my phone. The next morning, my laughter disappeared. Director Taylor. My assistant looked at me with the expression of someone attending a funeral. The CEO wants you. Now. She nodded. He said immediately. Every head in the department slowly turned toward me. Someone whispered, he's dead. Another sighed dramatically. We'll water the office plant for you. Should we start looking for a replacement director? I clutched my notebook like it was a life jacket and walked toward the executive floor. Each step felt heavier than the last. The CEO's office door stood open. His secretary smiled politely. Please go in. The door clicked shut behind me. Silence. The Grim Reaper stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows. Perfect suit. Perfect posture. Perfect terrifying aura. He turned around. Those cold gray eyes landed on me. Then, sit. Why yes. I sat so fast my chair squeaked. He frowned. I scare you. It wasn't a question. A little. A lot. Silence. He looked troubled. Actually troubled. Like I just informed him puppies hated him. He pinched the bridge of his nose before speaking again. I didn't intend that. I've been trying to appear approachable. I stared. Approachable? This man? The office suddenly felt like I'd stepped into another universe. He looked away for a second, almost awkwardly. My secretary said, smiling helps. I practiced. I frightened 3 vice presidents. I bit my lip so hard it hurt. Was he serious? He noticed my shoulders shaking. You may laugh. The permission was all it took. A tiny snort escaped. Then another, until I was laughing so hard I had to cover my face. When I finally looked up, the Grim Reaper wasn't glaring. The corners of his mouth had lifted. Barely. A smile. Tiny. Stiff. Completely unnatural. But unmistakably real. There, he said quietly. I smiled. Was that better? For some reason. It was. I blinked. Then blinked again. It was nice. The words slipped out before I could stop them. For the first time since I'd joined the company, the CEO's shoulders seemed to relax. I see. He actually sounded relieved. What kind of terrifying executive needed employee feedback on smiling? He cleared his throat and returned to his usual poker face so quickly I wondered if I'd imagined everything. I called you here to discuss the proposal. Reality crashed back down on me. Right? Work. I opened my notebook so fast I nearly tore the pages. He walked over and stood beside me instead of sitting across the desk. This section. His finger pointed to a chart. The idea isn't bad. Really? The presentation is. That wasn't a compliment, was it? No, of course not. He reached past me to move a document. The expensive cologne he always wore drifted over, making my brain short-circuit for a second. Why did terrifying CEOs have to smell so unfairly good? For the next half hour, he quietly went through every page. To my surprise, he wasn't insulting me. He wasn't even angry. He was simply teaching. This sentence is too vague. This graph should be simplified. Your conclusion is buried. Move it here. By the time we finished, the proposal looked twice as good. I stared at the revised draft. Thank you. He gave a small nod. You work hard. I've noticed. He crawled up my ears. You stay later than most managers. You buy coffee for your team. You take responsibility when projects fail. I don't dislike employees like that. For some reason, that simple sentence made me happier than it should have. Just then, buzz. My phone vibrated on the desk. Without thinking, I glanced down. Henry Redhart. Baby, are you alive? Did the tyrant eat you? My lips twitched into a smile. Another message arrived immediately. If he makes you cry, tell me. Oh, there was a long pause. I'll think of something. I couldn't help laughing. I quickly typed back. Still alive. He's surprisingly reasonable today. Across the room, the CEO's phone buzzed. He looked at it. His eyes widened, just for a fraction of a second. Then very slowly, he raised his head and looked directly at me. I looked at him. He looked at his phone, then back at me. An odd silence settled over the office. Finally, he asked in an unusually careful voice. Do you often call your boyfriend while you're at work? My heart skipped. Sometimes. He gave a slow nod. I see. Another pause. And his expression became strangely conflicted. Does your boyfriend happen to complain about his own workplace? I frowned. Not really. He mostly listens to me complain. The CEO looked down at his phone again, his ears turning the faintest shade of pink. I understand. I had no idea why, but for the rest of the meeting, the Grim Reaper couldn't seem to look me in the eye. I left the office completely confused. The Grim Reaper blushed? No, absolutely not. That man probably didn't even have the biological ability to blush. I must have imagined it. The moment the elevator doors closed, I pulled out my phone. Me, baby. Henry Redhart. I'm here. Instant reply. As always. Me. Something weird happened today. Henry Redhart. Did the tyrant bully you? Me, no. Henry Redhart. Henry Redhart. He didn't? Me. That's the weird part. Me. He spent 30 minutes helping me fix my proposal. There was a long pause. Long enough that I frowned at the screen. Finally. Henry Redhart. Maybe. Henry Redhart. He thinks you're talented. Me, baby. Me. Don't defend him. Another pause. Henry Redhart. Sorry. Henry Redhart. I won't do it again. I smiled despite myself. He was too easy to tease. A week later, the revised proposal won the client. Not just one. The client signed the biggest contract our department had landed all year. The entire office erupted into cheers. Director Miller slapped me on the back so hard I nearly face-planted into the conference table. You survived. I honestly thought the CEO was grooming you for execution. Someone else chimed in. No, haven't you noticed? The CEO hasn't yelled at Director Taylor in days. You're right. He only calls him upstairs. And every time Director Taylor comes back alive, maybe the CEO likes him. The room fell silent. Then everyone burst into laughter. The CEO? Like someone. Good one. I laughed with him. Yeah. As if. Later that afternoon, my phone buzzed. It was Henry. Henry Redhart. Baby. Me, Henry Redhart. What are you doing after work? Me. Going home. Henry Redhart. Don't. Me. Henry Redhart. I want to see you. My heart skipped. In the year we've been dating, we had voice called, video called, with the camera carefully angled away from our faces. Sent pictures of our meals, our pets, our hands, even our workouts. But we'd never met. We'd made a silly promise at the beginning. When we meet, it'll be a surprise. Neither of us had ever broken it. I stared at the message. Me. Are you asking me out? 3 little dots appeared instantly. Henry Redhart. Yes. Henry Redhart. I'm tired of missing you. Henry Redhart. Let's have dinner tonight. I couldn't stop smiling. Me, okay. Henry Redhart. I'll book the restaurant. Henry Redhart. With a navy blue shirt you bought last month. I froze. How did he know I owned a navy blue shirt? I never sent him a picture wearing it. I'd only mentioned buying one once, weeks ago. Before I could ask, another message popped up. Henry Redhart. It would look good on you. I narrow my eyes. Me, Henry. Henry Redhart. Yes? Me. Are you secretly stalking me? For the first time since we'd started dating. Instead of replying immediately, Henry stayed silent. 3 minutes. 5. 10. I stared at the scene notification. That had never happened before. Henry always replied within seconds. I was just about to type just kidding when my phone rang. Henry. I answered immediately. Baby, His voice was lower than usual. I need to tell you something before tonight. I leaned back in my chair. You're making me nervous. I know. A pause. I'm sorry. For what? For not telling you sooner. The uneasiness in my stomach grew. You are married, are you? No. Have kids? No. 40 years older than me? No. Then what is it? Another silence. Finally, he let out a quiet sigh. I'm at your company. I laughed. What a coincidence. Come upstairs after work. I already work upstairs. Really? What department? Management. Oh, so you're one of those poor vice presidents my boss terrifies every morning. Not exactly. I frowned. Then, I think, his voice became almost painfully careful. You should come to my office after work. Why? So I can explain. You're being dramatic. Probably. But please come. Before I could ask anything else. He hung up. The entire afternoon, I couldn't focus. Management. Upstairs. Private office. Why was he acting like he'd committed tax fraud? 6 o'clock finally arrived. Most of the employees fled the building like prisoners being released. I took the elevator to the executive floor. The hallway was eerily quiet. Only the CEO's secretary remained. She looked up and smiled warmly. Oh, Director Taylor. Mr. Henry is expecting you. I blinked. Mr. Henry? Yes. She gestured toward the massive office at the end of the hall. Go right in. My brain stopped working. There was only one office down there. No way. Absolutely not. I laughed awkwardly. I think you have the wrong Henry. She tilted her head. Mr. Henry asked me to bring you here personally if necessary. His full name is Henry Blackwood. My smile slowly disappeared. My online boyfriend had told me his real first name weeks ago. Henry. Just Henry. The secretary knocked once. Sir, Director Taylor is here. A familiar voice answered from inside. Please let him in. The door opened. I stepped inside on numb legs. The office was exactly the same as always. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Dark wood. That enormous desk. And behind it, the Grim Reaper. His suit jacket had been taken off. His tie loosened. His phone was in his hand. My phone vibrated. I looked down automatically. Henry Red Heart. Turn around. I slowly raised my head. Across the room, the CEO lifted his own phone. The notification sound on his device matched mine perfectly. He gave me a small, nervous smile. The same stiff, awkward one he'd practiced. Hi, baby. My jaw dropped. You're the tyrant? Henry closed his eyes. Yes. The single word landed like a meteor. My brain refused to process it. I looked at him, looked at my phone, looked back at him. Then, very calmly, I walked over to the expensive leather couch, sat down, folded my hands, and stared at the wall. Henry waited. Are you okay? I think my soul just left my body. I needed to come back. Another long silence. Finally, I turned my head. So, every single time I call my boss a demon. Yes. You read it. Yes. When I asked if you had PMS 30 days a month, Henry lowered his head. Yes. I said you should donate your body to science. Yes. I called you the evil queen. Yes. I compared you to expired milk once. I remember. You remember? You used a crying cat emoji. Oh my God. I buried my face in my hands. I need to move to another country. Henry quietly walked over. He stopped a respectful distance away. You don't. I absolutely do. I've already looked into your passport. My head snapped up. What? His eyes widened. Not like that. I meant. He pinched the bridge of his nose. That sounded much worse than it was. It really did. I asked Human Resources whether you had one because I was planning a vacation. You made it worse. For the first time, the terrifying so actually looked flustered. His ears turned pink. I don't usually explain myself. I can tell. He let out the faintest sigh. I've never dated anyone. Really? No. So, you've been accidentally threatening me with passport investigations? Yes. I couldn't help it. A laugh escaped. Henry looked at me hopefully. You're laughing? I'm trying not to. Another laugh slipped out. You are. I pointed at him. So bad at this. I know. You run a billion-dollar company. I do. You negotiate mergers. Frequently. But one boyfriend. I have no idea what I'm doing. His answer was so painfully honest that I laughed until my sides hurt. When I finally calmed down, I looked at him. So, were you ever going to tell me? Every day. What stopped you? You. Me? You kept saying you were afraid of your CEO. You once told me that if you ever met him outside work. He looked away for a moment. You'd throw your coffee at him. I did say that. You also said looking at me raised your blood pressure. I remember saying that too. And his voice softened. You call me your sleep paralysis demon. Oh, right. Henry gave me a resigned nod. So, I postponed telling you. You postponed it. For 8 months. I was waiting for a better opportunity. I stared at him. There wasn't one, was there? No. We looked at each other for a second. Then simultaneously. You idiot. You idiot. The words came out at the same time. For a heartbeat, there was silence. Then Henry laughed. Not a polite chuckle. Not the tiny, awkward smile I'd seen before. He actually laughed. Warm. Rich. Completely unguarded. The sound transformed him so completely that I almost forgot to breathe. You laugh? I whispered. He looked slightly embarrassed. Only around you. That single sentence made my heart pound. Maybe, just maybe, the Grim Reaper everyone feared had never been cold. He'd simply never known how to let anyone close enough to see this side of him. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The office, which had always felt so intimidating, suddenly seemed small. Comfortable. Henry rubbed the back of his neck. So, am I still your boyfriend? I stared at him. You skipped a few steps. I did. You confessed that you've been secretly dating one of your employees. Yes. You admitted you've read every insult I've ever sent. Yes. You let me embarrass myself for months. His shoulders drooped. Yes. And your first question is whether we're still dating? It's the one I'm most worried about. I couldn't help smiling. You know, you really are hopeless. I've been told I'm difficult. By the entire company. That's fair. I stood up and slowly walked toward him. He stayed perfectly still, watching me. When I was close enough, I poked him in the forehead. You owe me. I do. A lot. I know. For emotional damages. I'll compensate you. I'll decide the amount. Accepted. So easily, if it makes you stay. My ears warmed. That was unfair. How could the same man who terrified board members say something like that with a completely straight face? I crossed my arms. First demand. Anything. No more calling me into your office just to scare me. I never called you here to scare you. You have that effect, naturally. I'll try to look less intimidating. You've been trying? For years. I looked him up and down. Tailored black suit. Broad shoulders. Sharp jaw. Expression so serious it could freeze boiling water. You need a new strategy. He sighed. I suspected as much. Second demand. No favoritism. His expression became serious again. I was never planning to. If I do bad work, criticize me. I will. If I do good work, don't praise me more than anyone else. I won't. I don't want people saying I only succeed because I'm dating the CEO. Henry nodded immediately. I agree. There will be clear boundaries at work. You'll be my CEO in the office. And outside. I smiled. Outside. I reached for his hand. You could be Henry. He looked down at our hands. His fingers tightened around mine carefully, as though he were afraid I'd disappear if he held on too tightly. A tiny smile appeared on his face. Not forced, not practiced, just happy. The next Monday, the office was buzzing. I heard the CEO laughed. Impossible. The secretary swears it's true. Maybe she hallucinated. I also heard Director Taylor spent almost an hour in the CEO's office Friday evening. Everyone gasped dramatically. My assistant leaned over my desk. Director, yes. Are you alive because you're secretly related to him? I nearly choked on my coffee. No. Then what's your secret? I thought about the man who had sent me dog stickers, midnight reminders to sleep, surprise dinners, and ridiculous money transfers whenever I had a bad day. The same man who became the Grim Reaper the moment he walked into the office. I smiled to myself. If I told you, I don't think anyone would believe me. At that exact moment, my work phone rang. The caller ID displayed one name. CEO Henry Blackwood. The entire department went silent. Every pair of eyes turned toward me. I answered as calmly as I could. Good morning, Mr. Blackwood. His cool, professional voice came through the speaker. Director Taylor. Yes, sir. I've reviewed the revised marketing schedule. My coworkers leaned in shamelessly. It meets expectations. A pause. Good work. Click. The call ended. The office froze. Someone whispered. Another person blinked. Did the CEO pray someone? My assistant looked at me as if I'd performed magic. I hid the smile, threatening to spread across my face. At work, he was still the Grim Reaper. But now I knew the truth. Behind that terrifying expression was a man who sent me heart emojis, worried if I skipped lunch, and still signed every goodnight message the same way. Sleep well, baby. I'll miss you until morning. That night, I was brushing my teeth when my phone buzzed. Henry Redheart. I answered the video call, carefully aiming the camera at the ceiling out habit. Neither of us said anything. Then we both froze. We'd forgotten. We already knew what each other looked like. Slowly, I lowered my phone. On the screen was Henry. Not the Grim Reaper. Just Henry. His tie was gone. The top two buttons of his shirt were undone. His hair, usually combed back with military precision, had fallen over his forehead. He looked years younger. He blinked. You're staring. So are you. I wanted to do this for months. What? Look at your face while we talk. My heart skipped. I wanted that too. For the next 20 minutes, we accomplished absolutely nothing. We just looked at each other. Occasionally one of us would smile. Then the other would smile back. It was embarrassingly sweet. The following Friday, Henry texted me during lunch. Henry Redheart. Baby. Me? Henry Redheart. I have a problem. I immediately sat up. Me, what happened? Henry Redheart. The board insists I attend tomorrow night's charity gala. Me. Isn't that normal? Henry Redheart. Yes. Henry Redheart. They also expect me to bring a partner. I grinned. Me and three dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. It looked like the CEO was struggling with typing. Finally. Henry Redheart. Would you, Henry Redheart, like to come with me? I smiled so hard my cheeks hurt. Was this the same man who terrified an entire corporation? He was acting like a high school boy asking someone prom. Me. Is this a business invitation? Me. Or a date? He replied instantly. Henry Redheart. A date. Me. Then yes. Another message arrived less than a second later. Henry Redheart. Thank you. Henry Redheart. I've been nervous all morning. I burst out laughing. Saturday evening. Henry picked me up himself. No chauffeur. No assistant. Just him in a sleek black car. When I opened the passenger door, he was already out of the driver's seat. He walked around to me. For a second, he simply stared. What? You? His ears turned pink. You look beautiful. I looked down at my navy suit. You've seen me in a suit before. Not this one. You've seen pictures. I know. It's different. I felt my face warm. So do you. He looked away for a moment. Thank you. I couldn't resist. You know, if the employees saw you blushing this much, I'd lose my reputation. You'd become approachable. I don't know if I'm ready for that. Laughing, I reached out and straightened his tie. There. He caught my wrist gently before I pulled away. His thumb brushed lightly over the back of my hand. Can I hold your hand? I blinked. You asked permission? I'd rather ask than assume. I smiled. You absolutely can. His fingers slipped between mine. Firm, warm, comfortable. For someone who negotiated billion-dollar deals without flinching. His hand was just slightly trembling. I squeezed it. He looked at me. Nervous. Terrified. The Grim Reaper? The CEO can handle a hostile board. He smiled sheepishly. Henry is worried about impressing his boyfriend. I laughed. Don't worry. I already like him. The tension left his shoulders in an instant. As we walked into the brightly lit ballroom hand in hand, neither of us noticed the flash of a camera across the street. A photographer lowered his lens, staring at the preview on his screen. The famously single CEO has a boyfriend? He quickly reached for his phone. This is going to be tomorrow's biggest headline. The headline exploded across the internet before breakfast. Ice-cold CEO spotted holding hands with mystery man. Who stole the Grim Reaper's heart? Netizens shocked after Henry Blackwood smiles in public. I nearly dropped my coffee. Henry. Across the breakfast table, Henry calmly buttered his toast. You're trending. I know. You know. My public relations director called it 6. And you're eating toast? I was hungry. I stared at him. Nothing rattled this man. My phone suddenly erupted with notifications. Department group chat, 99 plus. Assistant. Everyone wake up. Manager Chun. That's our CEO. Intern. He's smiling. Finance. Is the picture edited? Manager Lou. Wait. Manager Lou. Isn't that suit Director Taylor wore yesterday? My blood ran cold. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. Another message appeared. Assistant. Assistant, guys. Assistant. Zoom in. 3 dots. Then, Manager Chun. Finance. Intern. Assistant. That's Director Taylor. The group chat exploded. I slowly placed my phone face down on the table. Henry looked up. They figured out? They figured out. I see. That's all you have to say? He took a sip of coffee. We were going to tell the company eventually. I was hoping for a little less internet detective work. That's fair. By the time we reached the office, the lobby had become unnaturally quiet. Employees who usually greeted each other loudly suddenly remembered they had shoes to look at. One by one, heads turned. First toward Henry, then toward me, then back toward Henry. Someone accidentally walked into a decorative plant. Another dropped an entire stack of folders. The receptionist whispered so loudly everyone heard it. They're standing next to each other. They're matching watches. Oh my God. Henry pressed the elevator button. Good morning. Half the lobby answered in terrified unison. Good morning, Mr. Blackwood. The other half simply forgot how to speak. The elevator doors opened. Henry stepped inside. I instinctively followed. Just before the doors closed, he glanced at everyone still staring. His voice was calm and carried through the lobby. Director Taylor and I are in a relationship. I expect everyone to continue behaving professionally during working hours. The elevator doors slid shut. Silence. Absolute silence. Then, a muffled scream echoed from outside. Someone yelled, I told you he liked him. Another voice shouted, who had CEO romance in the office BET? The elevator continued upward. I buried my face in my hands. I can never show my face again. Henry looked genuinely puzzled. What? They're going to gossip about us for months. They were already gossiping. You make an excellent point. For the first time that morning, I laughed. Henry reached over and gently intertwined our fingers for the few seconds before the elevator reached the executive floor. The doors chimed open. He let go immediately. CEO again. Professional. Composed. I smiled to myself as we stepped into the hallway. The Grim Reaper had returned. But now I knew his secret. The moment those office doors closed, he'd probably send me a message asking if I'd remembered to eat lunch. I was right. Exactly 12 o'clock. My phone buzzed. Henry Redhart. Have you eaten? I smiled. Me. Not yet. 3 seconds later. Henry Redhart. Why? Me. Because I was working. Henry Redhart. Work and wait. Me. Says the CEO. The typing bubble appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Henry Redhart. Henry Redhart. That was hypocritical of me. I laughed out loud. My assistant looked over. Director, are you okay? Perfectly. You've smiled more this week than you have in the last 2 years. Have I? She nodded enthusiastically. It's kind of nice. Before I could answer, another message arrived. Henry Redhart. Come upstairs. Me. During lunch? Henry Redhart. Yes. Me, your office? Henry Redhart. No. Henry Redhart. Everyone expects that now. Me? Me, you thought this through? Henry Redhart. I had all morning. Henry Redhart. Meet me on the rooftop. 5 minutes later, I pushed open the rooftop door. Henry was already there. He was in his suit jacket, just a white dress shirt with the sleeves rolled up, and 2 lunchboxes sitting on a small table. You cook. I tried. Should I be worried? I followed the recipe exactly. I sat down across from him. He opened the first lunchbox. The rice was shaped into a heart. I looked at it, then at him. Henry. Yes. Did the Grim Reaper make me heart-shaped rice? His ears instantly turned red. The internet said couples enjoy these things. The internet also says eating laundry detergent is a challenge. That's a good point. I couldn't stop grinning. I picked up my chopsticks. The omelet was slightly crooked. The vegetables were cut into wildly uneven sizes. The chicken was a little overcooked. Henry watched me nervously. How is it? I chewed thoughtfully, then smiled. It's delicious. You don't have to lie. I'm not. It isn't restaurant quality. I know. It's boyfriend quality. His expression softened. I've never cooked for anyone before. Really, you were my first. Something warm settled in my chest. I reached across the table and took his hand. Then, I'll happily be your taste tester. For a moment, the only sounds were the breeze and the city below. Then Henry spoke quietly. I've been thinking about. I want to tell you something. His tone was unusually serious. I've spent most of my life trying to become someone people respected. You succeeded. I also became someone people were afraid to approach. I thought that was the price of leadership. He looked at our joined hands. Then you came along. You called me a tyrant. You called me your sleep paralysis demon. You said I had PMS. And yet, he smiled. You also treated me like a normal person. I blinked. I complained to you. You laughed at me. You teased me. You never cared about my title. He squeezed my hand gently. I didn't realize how lonely I'd become until you started filling my phone with terrible jokes and pictures of your lunch. I felt my throat tighten. So, he took a slow breath. Thank you. I smiled. You know, I still think you're kind of scary. But now, I leaned over the table, just enough to bump my forehead lightly against his. You're my scary boyfriend. Henry let out a quiet laugh. I can accept that title. Just then, the rooftop door creaked open. Henry and I turned at the same time. Standing frozen in the doorway was his secretary. She looked from our joined hands to the heart-shaped rice, to our foreheads almost touching. Her eyes widened. Oh, a long pause. Then she cleared her throat with impeccable professionalism. Mr. Blackwood. Yes. You have a board meeting in 3 minutes. Henry sighed. Thank you, Miss Carter. She gave a small nod, turned on her heel, and closed the door behind her. The silence lasted exactly 2 seconds. Then both of our phones buzzed. The company group chat. Ms. Carter. The CEO made Director Taylor a homemade lunch. Ms. Carter, please stop asking me for details. Ms. Carter. No. I will not take photos for you. Ms. Carter. Yes, the rice was heart-shaped. I burst into laughter so hard I nearly fell out of my chair. Henry covered his face with one hand. I may never recover from this. Henry was wrong. He recovered in exactly 43 minutes. The employees didn't. By the end of the day, the entire company had developed a strange new hobby. Every time Henry walked past, people tried to imagine him making heart-shaped rice. The image simply refused to fit. Vice President Adams whispered to the CFO, "I watched him negotiate a hostile acquisition last year." The CFO nodded solemnly. "I watched him threaten a supplier into lowering prices by 12%. And now he cuts carrots into little flowers." It's a confusing time for all of us. The real problem began the following Monday. I walked into my department and froze. On my desk was a tiny gift bag. Inside was a cookie shaped like a heart. There wasn't a name, just a note. For the CEO's boyfriend. I looked around. Everyone immediately buried their faces in their computers. Who did this? Silence. Absolute silence. 5 minutes later, another package arrived. Then another. By lunch, my office looked like I'd celebrated Valentine's Day 5 times in a row. Cookies, chocolate, coffee gift cards. One anonymous employee had even knitted a tiny black hooded plushie labeled, "The Cute Grim Reaper." I laughed so hard I had tears in my eyes. That afternoon, I carried the plushie upstairs. Henry looked up from his paperwork. "What's that?" I placed it on his desk. He stared at the little doll. It had tiny embroidered eyebrows, permanently sewn into an angry expression, a miniature business suit, and the cutest little scythe imaginable. He picked it up carefully. "Does it look like me?" I looked between the doll and Henry. The eyebrows are accurate. He examined it from every angle. "It's smiling." "It is." "I don't smile that much." I nearly choked. "You do now. Only around you." I smiled. "I know." He quietly placed the plushie beside his computer monitor, right next to his family photo. "You're keeping it?" It was a gift from anonymous employees. They're thoughtful. I blinked. Wait. The terrifying CEO was displaying a crocheted version of himself on his executive desk. The board of directors was never going to recover. The next morning proved me right. I happened to be in Henry's office when 2 board members came in for a scheduled meeting. One of them stopped mid-sentence. "Henry." "Yes." "Why?" His eyes drifted to the tiny, plush Grim Reaper sitting proudly beside the monitor. "Is there a doll of you on your desk?" Henry glanced at it. "Oh." His expression didn't change in the slightest. "My boyfriend brought it for me." The room fell silent. The second board member blinked twice. "Your boyfriend?" "Yes." "You collect plush toys now?" Henry considered the question seriously. "I suppose I do." He reached over and absent-mindedly adjusted the plushie's tiny tie so it sat straight. I bit the inside of my cheek so hard it almost hurt. The board members looked at each other. One finally muttered, "I think retirement might be the right choice for me." After they left, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I laughed until I had to sit down. Henry looked up from his documents. "Was something funny?" I wiped tears from my eyes. "You just made a 65-year-old man question reality." Henry looked genuinely thoughtful. "I should probably apologize." "No." I laughed again. "Please don't." The image of the Grim Reaper carefully straightening the tie on his tiny plush self was simply too perfect. And somehow, it suited Henry better than anyone in the company would ever have believed. That evening, the city outside Henry's office was already glowing with late lights when he finally finished his last call. The Grim Reaper persona had returned all day, sharp voice, controlled tone, unreadable expression. But the moment the door closed behind the last board member, he exhaled. Slow, quiet, like he'd been holding his breath for hours. "You're tired," I said. "I'm fine. You always say that." He glanced at me, then at the couch where I was already half sprawled with his ridiculous little plush version of himself sitting next to me. "That doll is still here." "Of course it is." "It's staring at me." "It's you." Henry walked over and loosened his tie, sitting beside me instead of behind his desk for once. That alone felt like a victory. For a while, neither of us spoke. Just the hum of the city, the soft ticking of his overly expensive office clock, the quiet comfort of not needing to perform anything. Then Henry said, softer than usual, "Do you regret it?" I looked at him. "Regret what?" "Finding out." I thought about it. The fear I used to feel walking into this building. The ridiculous messages. The money transfers. The way he quietly paid attention to every small thing I said without ever asking for anything in return. Then I nudged his shoulder lightly. "I regret one thing." His eyes flickered. "What?" "That I spent so long calling you a sleep paralysis demon without realizing you were just socially broken." A pause. Then, to my surprise, Henry laughed. Quiet. Warm. Real. "I'll accept that diagnosis." He leaned back against the couch, staring at the ceiling. "I used to think if people saw me like this, they'd lose respect." "You mean like this?" I gestured vaguely at him, slouched on a couch next to a plush version of himself. "Yes." I smiled. "Bad news, CEO." They already did." He turned his head slightly toward me. I continued, softer now. "And then they got used to you. And then they stopped being scared all the time." A beat. "And then some of them started knitting you tiny hooded dolls." That part I'm still processing. I laughed. Henry shifted closer, just enough that our shoulders touched. "Can I ask something?" he said. "You've been asking questions all week. This one is important." "Okay." He hesitated, which was rare for him. "When you call me your boyfriend online, did you mean it?" I didn't even pretend to think about it. "Yes." His shoulders loosened immediately, like something inside him had been waiting years to hear that answer. "Good." Then, quieter, "I meant it too. Before I even told you." I looked at him. "You were terrible at hiding it." "I wasn't trying to hide it from you." "Who were you hiding it from then?" He glanced away. "The world." I reached for his hand, lacing our fingers together the way he finally learned to ask for instead of assume. "You don't have to anymore." Henry didn't respond right away. Instead, he just held my hand tighter, Later, when we finally left the building, the lobby was empty. But someone had left a small envelope on the reception desk. Please don't break up. Productivity has improved. I stared at it. Henry leaned over my shoulder. I will increase salaries. That's not the issue here. I will increase salaries and give them a holiday. That's also not the issue. I sighed, slipping the note back down. Congratulations. For what? You've become emotionally blackmailed by your own employees. Henry looked mildly offended. That's not how I would describe it. What would you call it? A pause. Then, very seriously, motivational feedback. I laughed so hard I had to hold onto his arm. And this time, Henry didn't even try to hide his smile. Outside, the night air was warm. He opened the car door for me automatically, then paused. We could walk instead, he said. You? I raised a brow. Walk in public? With feelings? I believe I can manage it. I studied him for a second. The CEO who once terrified entire rooms. Now standing there, waiting like it actually mattered what I thought. Fine, I said. But if anyone takes a photo, I'm blaming you. He nodded once. I'll handle it. We started walking. And when his hand found mine again, this time without hesitation, without asking, it didn't feel like a secret anymore. Something that, somehow, had survived the Grim Reaper.